All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's 1:45 Malaysian time. And, it's always a tricky when you get the slot as such, right? And, the only hope is that everyone, because you're working from home, so you've got access to your food, you can sit down in front of your computer if you've not had lunch. Anyways, again, thank you, ABIS Start, for allowing us to have this masterclass. Some of you may have joined sessions earlier from my other two colleagues, Ain and Chanya. They would have shown some aspects of on how you can use consumer intelligence, how can you understand consumers in terms of product positioning, targeting, and I think Chanya addressed earlier on how you guys can actually use the intelligence data that we have for you to be able to more efficiently and easily target on Facebook. So I'm taking this last slot in our series of masterclasses this afternoon. And I'm going to be focusing on sharing with everyone here today a roadmap to segment your e-commerce customer data. So I'm going to kind of shift the perspective a little bit. We are still talking about data, but I'm going to zoom down a little bit more about the data that you possibly have and how you can actually leverage this data for you to be able to do personalization, your campaigns, segmentation based on your data sets itself. Yeah. So let's get the ball rolling. For those of you guys who was not able to join earlier on, let me give a little bit of a glimpse of Dattel. Yeah. So Dattel, we are a data analytics and consumer intelligence company. Our sole purpose in life is essentially to help you understand consumers and customers, all the way from your strategy to your tactical game plan at the end of the day. And we hope by doing this with the ability of giving you insights so that you can be ahead of your competitors, so that you can increase your sales, so that you can look at possibly reducing your cost of acquisition. And these are all important elements in any business. The only things that we're focusing here today is in particular of the context of B2C businesses. Yeah. And we've got presence, not just in Malaysia, but in Thailand, Indonesia, and also Singapore. And one of the things that we focus in helping businesses here, guys, is that we live in a world where we intersect between data and technology to be able to help you do modern segmentation, as we call it. There are different types of segmentations, different types of data that you apply. But what this visual essentially is trying to say is that on the left-hand side, you would have data in one form or another, coming from your online presence, coming from your CRM, coming from even other third party that you're probably sourcing from. Right in the middle is naturally our platform, what my colleagues has earlier described just now. And naturally on the right-hand side are things that you can take action with, combining what you have and what we have. But today, yeah, but for this particular segment, I'm going to be zooming down in particular to e-commerce players, and in particular, looking at the data that you have at your end and how you can maximize the data that you have. Now, again, like I mentioned, it's about e-commerce businesses. And the key question here is, do you want to know more about your customers or not? And some of you may say yes, some of you may say no, but I think a lot of you guys are going to say yes. But the key question is that, okay, what can I know about them and what else can I do? When I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and businesses, SME business owners and so forth, the question is that there is this high level of appreciation with regards to data. But the where it's a stumbling block, yeah, is when they are trying to figure out, okay, I see all these things, but what do I really do after that? What is my next course of action? So this particular segment of Masterclass is going to be focusing about helping you segment your current customers, so that you know the extremities of your champions, your loyalists, and even to the extent of who have been your customers before and that you might lose them, right? And by you being able to understand this a lot better, then you're naturally going to be able to optimize your cost of engagement, mobilize your resources well enough, increase your ROI, and naturally, last but not least, just like any other business, you want to look at increasing the customer lifetime value of your customers. Yeah. So this is where my goal is with regards to the objective of this session, and what I hope specifically that you're going to be able to have some key takeaways is, number one, to be able to appreciate one form of customer segmentation. Tongue twister a little bit. One form of customer segmentation model for e-commerce players, right? Number two, then once you know that model, you then know how to segment them, how to read them, and naturally, and once you know how to read them, then you can actually really think through what you can do once you have segmented your customers that have interacted with you. Yeah. So this is what I do hope that you guys will learn, and please stay on. If this resonates with you, stay on for the course of this particular masterclass. And I really hope and I wish and I believe that you will not regret. Now, for all you guys that's running your e-commerce platforms or storefronts right now, right? What have you done with the data that you captured? Or I guess, if I were to take a step back, do you realize that you're actually capturing data or not? And pretty rich, decent data if you deep dive further what you have. But for the most part, when I talk to a lot of e-business owners, they are focused a lot with regards to just about the database and looking at the sales component, right? And a lot of you guys are also utilizing some of this basic data that you have, for some of these things that we put across over here. You're giving out vouchers. You're reminding them, on your premise of engagement. You're wishing them birthdays. You use that data that you have to actually promote certain campaigns. Some of you may be slightly more savvier. You look at upselling or cross-selling. And some of you guys are just not doing anything about it. So where we're trying to focus here at the end of the day, right? And just looking at just one aspect of your data and just looking at one aspect of how you segment your customer data, we think that you can do a lot better than what I just listed down earlier on. And a lot better here that would allow you to be able to reduce your cost in running your business, and at the same time, increasing value to your customers, increasing value to your buyers. And if you're able to do this, then the way you're going to be able to run your business, the way you're going to be sustaining your business is going to be a lot better. And if this dynamics really works, you will be ahead of your other fellow competitors in the market, right? Now, when we talk about reducing costs and increasing value, what do we mean by that? It's really nice, big words. So I've got little nice 9 boxes here that's talking about that. When we talk about, how you're going to reduce costs and increase value, let's start with the top left here. Now, the top left here talks about you'll be able to identify your most potential customers. The middle block is going to allow you to be able to easily communicate it with a targeted group of consumers or customers, right? You don't want to be talking the same lingo, the same messaging to every single person. I think if you've listened earlier on to my colleague Ain's session, she would have highlighted how you're able to break down from a large age demographics into 2-3 blocks so that you can kind of communicate with them in a much more engaging manner. You got able to select the best medium for communicating and targeting with those segments. Yes, they may buy stuff from your online store, but it doesn't mean that your method of communication is just through Facebook. It doesn't mean it's just WhatsApp. Different customers may have different preferences, and you want to optimize the way you're engaging with them. The next block here is about improving the quality of service, loyalty, and retention. If you go to a lot of marketing gurus or programs, people do talk about the whole idea that it is a lot cheaper, more cost efficient for you to retain your existing customers than customer acquisition. So once you've got them, right? Once you've got them, you want to be able to ensure that you can retain them. And one of the ways of retaining them naturally is to be able to improve that personalized customer relationship. And of course, to be able to provide value when you're actually cross-selling or even upselling to them. You don't want to upsell or cross-sell products that doesn't resonate with them. At the end of the day, they're going to feel that you don't know them well enough, and they're going to go to the next person that they feel understands them a lot better. The other block at the bottom left here is about designing customized promotions. And this is what I mentioned a little bit just now with regards to vouchers. Most of the entrepreneurs that I speak to tends to say, you know what, I've got this little voucher. I'm going to spam blast everyone in my database itself, so that if I hit them, then, the more I'm able to blast, the more I'm able to hit. Not necessarily the case. Everyone is probably doing the same thing, and your customers are going to be bombarded with irrelevant things. So you want to be careful about that aspect as well. Staying step ahead of your competitors boils down to the fact that if you understand them better, you're able to intercept and engage with them a lot better before your competitors actually take them away from you. And last but not least, you can't just rely on a singular product. There's always a need to introduce new products. The better you understand the existing customers that you have, the better it is for you to decide. As a business owner, what is the next product, right? The timing of the next product is actually as important as the kind of products that you're going to be introducing next. You may not be wrong, but it reflects your efficiency in getting your yield back and the ROI that you can get out of this. So what I've just painted to everyone here this afternoon is pretty much different possibilities that you can look at increasing value and reducing costs. And again, this last two sessions and this session, and naturally coming from us, it's all about empowering you in making these decisions with data so that you're not second guessing the things that you need to do, right? And, once you have that in place, now imagine this. What if you can segment your customers into this 11 blocks that we have over here, right? And identifying the champions and identifying those that you may lose out, that allows you to then strategize your business really well. And some folks think that strategy is only for the big guys, right? Strategy starts from when you start or before you even start your business. If you don't think strategy is important, then your foundation in running your venture may not be as solid as you may like it to be. And I think I mentioned also a lot of the failures of a lot of startups, entrepreneurs, ventures is not understanding the market well enough, number one, but also in this context, in this particular segment that we're talking about over here, understanding the customers that are already buying stuff from you, right? And how do you increase that lifetime value from these guys that's engaging with you? Now, where we want to look at focusing today is to be able to get, from the customers that's engaging with you, and then naturally making those purchases with your storefronts or via your storefronts, right? Some of you may be running loyalty programs already, and that is super awesome, right? Some of you guys may have CRM programs running, and that is super awesome. If you have all these three, then, you are well prepped, right? In terms of your foundation of data readiness. But again, don't fret. If you don't have a loyalty program running yet, if you don't have a proper CRM place in store, if you are running, like I said, the focus here, if you're running e-commerce storefronts, then the good news is that, and I'll highlight shortly, that there are data that is captured there, right? And it's up to you as the business owner to be able to capture this data. And Chanya mentioned in her session prior to this that moving forward, first-party data is important, right? And when we talk about first-party data here, is actually data of the customers that's interacting with you, not somebody else's data, your own data, right? And if you have this, and Chanya mentioned just now with regards to the whole universe on the digital landscape is getting harder for you to track things online. The wall gardens are getting higher also. First-party data becomes important for you to be able to create meaningful understanding of your customers. And naturally, once you get this into your storefronts, regardless whether you have your loyalty program or CRM programs, then you are able to then start your journey on doing your first level of segmentation, which is and as you get more advanced, as you get more data from the customers that you have, you are probably able to go to the next level of segmentation of the customers that you have. But for today, for this particular session this afternoon, I am only going to be focusing at the entry level and showing to you that even at the entry level, you can harness value out of it already and get some ROI. Because I believe that once you see this ROI, you are going to be one of those entrepreneurs that is just trying to get more data into play so that you can make better decisions in your business strategy, your marketing strategy, and so forth. Yeah. So let's move on here a little bit to the next stage on that first level segmentation. That first level segmentation I'm speaking about here is called RFM. Now, in the data universe itself, right, RFM is probably your entry level in dealing with data. Yeah. Some of you may be familiar, some of you may not be familiar. Again, don't worry. That's why we're at eBay Start Summit to learn so that you're able to take advantage of things that you may not realize that you already have. Yeah. So RFM stands for recency, frequency, and monetary. And what that essentially means is it's an analysis tool for you to identify your best clients based on their spending habits. Right. And, you're probably wondering, like, why so complicated? Why must have RFM and all these things? Right. Why can't I just, look at my spreadsheet and then just do, get a guesstimate out of it? Yeah, you can. Right. Not that you can't do, but, as any entrepreneurs or any person working in a marketing division, you either have lack of resources and time for you to be able to do these things. And what I'm about to introduce to you today and teach you guys today is how can you do this in the fastest manner so that you can make your decisions on the fly for yourself and also for the team, right? So let's drill down here the RFM matrix at a high level first. Recency data essentially is talking about, the freshness of things, how recent, as the name says, the time since last order, last engaged with the product. So that's what recency essentially means. Frequency, as per the name again, talks about the frequency of your customers buying back from you, right? Do they buy every month? Do they buy every other month, or every 6 months, every quarter, whatever that may be, right? These insights can actually be very meaningful. Monetary is actually the dollar value. What's the average transactional value that your customers are spending with you? Now, looking at the data independently is manageable. Looking at this data independently is also relatively easy, right? But the real power in doing any analysis is when you're able to mash things up together to be able to get the best results. Now, what do you need to actually, kickstart on this RFM best segmentation? You must be wondering, I mentioned to you guys, right? All you need at the bare minimum layer is, as long as you're running an e-commerce platform, you ought to be capturing some of this already. And if you have your loyalty and CRM programs running, it just means that you've got more data to play with, right? But what I want to highlight to everyone here is the minimum data point for you to be able to do some form of RFM-based segmentation. Now, you got your customer, right? Naturally, you've got your little IDs that you ought to have some level of demographics if you can, right? If you do not have demographics and all you have is either an email of that person, or for some of you guys that you ask them to register their mobile number, that is okay. It allows you to use that as an anchor to connect all the other data. But if you are able to understand a little bit more about their age group, where they're at naturally, and any other things, their gender, you'll be able to then decipher a lot better in terms of the whole analysis here. Yeah. Second bit, like I mentioned, is about the purchase date and time. And if you're running an e-commerce platform, you ought to be able to capture this already within whatever platforms that you're using, right? So Ashran, who is male, of a certain age group, he buys my products on a regular basis at a particular time of day, at a particular time of the month, and then so forth, right? And if you take from a time series perspective, right, a historical time perspective, you'll be able to see patterns in terms of, do I do this on a monthly, quarterly, half-yearly, or even a once-a-year exercise, right? So that's the second minimal data point that you have, that you should have already captured, whether you realize or not, if you're running an e-commerce storefront. Last but not least is purchase amount, right? And if you're running a storefront, you would have already listed down your product SKUs, which means you would have data with regards to, if you're selling in the fashion space, T-shirts, X amount, drinks, like a certain type of drinks, X amount, whatever that may be, sports products, X amount, right? So these are the three minimal starting points for any e-commerce business owner that you require for you to be able to get and kick started on this data journey of yours, and for you to be able to do a first level RFM-based customer segmentation so that you can start looking at improving your cost, and you can look at starting increasing the value to your customers. Yeah. Now, the minute you have this, right, this is what then you'll be able to map based on the recency, monetary, and the frequency. You'll be able to have now chunks, right, of profiles mapped of all your customers into something that looks like what I am visualizing over here, right? And this is what I mean just now, right? If you look at just recency in isolation, monetary component data point in isolation, frequency in isolation, yeah, they make sense, but it may not yield you the best results. But if you're able to look at, a champion here, if I just simplistically put, right, is a customer that, frequently goes to your shop, and they've been to your shop, pretty recent also. And the transactional value that they make in your store is also significant relative to the rest, right? And if you model this right, it can be designed from a relative to the customer sets that you have so that you're able to segment them well enough. And what we normally recommend from a very simplistic lens is to break down them into quartiles. And when you break them into quartiles, then it's easy for you to manage. The top quartile are certain parts of your champions, and you can break them down on that front and so forth. So this is what we'd like you to imagine, and we'd like you to kind of see what you can have as if you were to run such a customer segmentation of what you have. Yeah. And so let me walk you through a little bit. I know you've seen this just now. Let's look at some of the definitions and kind of examples of actions that you can possibly take in all these 11 blocks that I've shared over here. So when we talk about champions, and I gave that example just now, they bought recently, they buy often, they spend the most. So the key question to any entrepreneurs or marketers out there, what do I do next, right? So, our recommendation is, to look at rewarding them naturally as being champions of yourself. Naturally, they can become evangelists. They are definitely awesome early adopters of new products. So if you are looking at introducing new products, go and attack them first as opposed to attacking everyone. Make them feel special with regards to those things. Yeah. Loyal customers, they buy, they're not as highly at the top front as your champions, but they're still valuable. They buy on a regular basis. They are very responsive to promotions. So you know how to address this particular group. There's a high potential for you to upsell to them higher value products. Most of you guys as a business strategy may have gone in first with something that is low barrier for them to buy, make it easy. And then the next stage is to upsell and engage them. And then naturally, because they're loyal, you can get them to review your products. Next one, potential loyalists. These are essentially customers that are recent with an average level of frequency in visiting your stores or in actually making purchases out there. And what you want to look at doing with this group is, softly recommending other products, try to onboard them. If you have not run a loyalty program, then look at running a loyalty program, onboard them, engage them to be able to then be more of a loyal customer as opposed to just a potential loyalist. Recent customers, naturally, they don't buy often, but they just bought stuff recently, right? You got to make sure the user experience that you are giving them is awesome enough that they'll remember that first purchase. You want to make sure that you start building that relationship. And I'll give an example a little bit later on with regards to this, yeah? So this is the kind of action that you want to do when you're looking at the recent customer segment. The promising guys, recent shoppers, but have not spent that much yet, right? So they are recent, there is the potential, what can you do? You've got to make sure that the brand awareness is there, that their mind share is out there. This is a segment that if you're looking at giving out free trials, go to this group. Don't give free trials to every single person that you have in your customer database, because at the end of the day, this is one way that you can kind of manage your cost structures also. Yeah. Next, needs attention above average recency, frequency. So they're somewhere in between, right? They're somewhere in between, and you got to look at ways to reactivate them. Sometimes this can be that middle child syndrome in the family, right? Attention's given to the youngest one, earlier on given to the eldest one, but the middle one is forgotten. You don't want to lose out on these guys also. About to sleep. So about to sleep segment will be those that are below average in terms of recency and frequency. And if you're not going to be activating them, chances are you're going to lose them. And there are many ways of reactivation, and we can have a whole set of different conversations with regards to this. One of the easier ways is actually not so much about selling, but actually sharing with them valuable resources via your social media platforms, or even direct engagement that you have via WhatsApp, or even emails if you're emailing them with regards to these things. At-risk group, they've bought stuff from you, not been to your store for the longest time, you got to bring them back, right? If you don't bring them back, somebody else is going to slide in and actually take them away. So for these guys, be a little bit more personal. When you get this whole total basket, you got to manage in terms of where do you want to focus, your activity on that particular month or that particular quarter itself, so that you can optimize how you are utilizing your resources at the end of the day. On the can't lose them segment. So again, they used to buy products from your store frequently. Again, they're not returned for a long time. If you notice this, this is pretty much highlighting how the analysis is done to kind of mesh up together data between recency, frequency, and monetary, and then segment them based on the scoring of their behavior. Yeah. So for these guys who can't lose them, right? you want to be able to win them back. You want to be able to talk to them. You want to be able to give the special offers to them. And I'll touch on this a little bit later on also, and I'll give you a bit of a use case. Yes, people talk about offers, but you don't have to give the same offer to every single person in your database, right? You differentiate your offers accordingly based on the segments that you have. Then that's another way of actually you managing your cost structure and at the same time making sure that your customers are happy. Hibernating guys, last purchase was very long, low orders, it may be lost. Again, you got to make sure that brand value is there, finding relevant products and good offers also for them. And I'll touch on this later on. Last but not least, this is the group that, on all fronts, they scored the lowest, right? This is gone. You want to make sure that you know that this number doesn't grow too much, that you are containing this number, yeah? So you got to manage the other segments well enough so that this lost segment is actually shrinking, and your segment number 1 and 2 in particular, your loyal customers and your champions are getting larger and larger as you move. So having a huge customer database is awesome, but having a huge customer database, but having a huge ratio of lost or even hibernating or 9, 10, 11 segments that you see on screen here right now will not do you any good. You got to take a step back. You got to reflect. You got to discuss with your other partners if you've got other partners. You got to talk to the marketing team. What else can you do? How do you shift this through, right? Having data like this, right, and having in control of things with regards to this allows you to make decisions in a much more clearer manner, a more systematic manner, right? As opposed to you just looking at the charts or numbers that you have and you just have very high broad strokes in terms of what you have, right? So those are the 11 segments defined, and hopefully that gives you better clarity in terms of, you understand what the 11 segments are and what actions that you can possibly take with this group. And another tip here for everyone is that this is not something that you do one-off, right? And you've got to track your customers well enough because they can, be a champion with you today. And if you're not managing them well enough, they may slide down the whole chain towards lost. And you don't want that to happen. You want to make sure that if, right, for example, they slide, you're able to shift them back to that particular group that you have. Yeah. So let's talk about use case. Now I'll talk about the theories. I've defined, you guys, the 11 possible segments that you can actually leverage just from your own database, just from the data of your e-commerce storefront. Now let's look at, a cosmetics entrepreneur. They've got a mix of baskets of, multiple products, probably sourcing these products from Korea or wherever. And naturally, they've got an e-commerce storefront, right? The behavior of this entrepreneur, like most people, are focused on, looking at the sales, which is good, right? And focusing on customer acquisition, also good. But they've taken for granted in terms of what to do with the 5,000 customers that they have accumulated over the course of their business. And they're at a stage where they're actually planning to introduce a new product. So these are the kind of things that, once we've done that segmentation for them, some of the things that they've done. Number 1, right? They looked at introducing this new product they were about to launch to just their champion segment. Now, this allows them to make sure that, number 1, there's a fit with regards to the product. Number 2, because they've got first-hand exclusive access to the product, the customers feel special. And even prior to the business owner launching the product on their storefront, this existing customers, this champion that they have, are already doing pre-sales, pre-marketing for the brand itself, right? So that's one thing that they've done. Second thing that they've done is actually push, then, once that's sorted, then push the new products first to the loyal customers that they had. because you know the loyal customers will end up reviewing the product and creating that virality factor again. Yeah. So that was the second thing that they did based on the segmentations that we've given them. Third is that they use the profiles of champions and loyal customers as lookalikes, and then take those into Facebook and kind of run a campaign through. They've used our platform to do their first segmentation, and also did some lookalike, but now they're using their own customer data also, but not the whole 100%, right? They only took profiles of those guys that are high value to be able to tell Facebook that please find me these high value guys well enough. So these are the three actions that was done by this cosmetics entrepreneur, and the results that was achieved by this entrepreneur was that within a short time frame, they were able to look at increasing their sales with this new product introduction by a 30% yield, and with the same ad spend that they had, because their lookalikes were a lot better. They're able to get better yield out of this. And something that's slightly more non-tangible, because people talk about sales, people talk about ad spend and so forth, but they were able, with this exercise, getting, as an output or a byproduct, happy retained champions and loyal customers, which goes a long way, right? And this is one example of how a business owner could actually derive value by doing these segmentations that I highlighted earlier on just now. So guys, I hope, I tried to be as step and methodical as I can to make sure that, everyone can follow through and kind of relate to their business also, and see some of the potentials that you can have. Because at the end of the day, guys, if you've got good customer segmentations, right, and you're taking the right actions based on the data, it will give you confidence, number one, but it would allow you, back to this chart that I showed earlier on, or this image that I showed earlier on, it would allow you to look at, systematically reducing your cost, systematically increasing the value of the customers that you have. I've seen too many times, entrepreneurs, business owners, yes, we all want to increase customer value. We all want to reduce costs, but you do not have a systematic way in trying to do this. If you try to do everything at one go, it will be rojak, right? It will be jumbled up, and you end up either getting confused or making the wrong decision, and you don't want to do that, right? Cash is very important, especially in this current pandemic times. We've got to be careful of what we're spending on. As a business owner, especially as much as you want to reserve cash, you should not entirely don't spend, right? There are things that you got to do, that you got to spend, that will be able to give you high yield in terms of efforts. Otherwise, it will be stagnant. So, before I conclude, right, with all those things that's put across, there are 5 things that e-commerce owners, entrepreneurs can actually focus on, right? So these are just tips on my suggestion on what you can narrow things down and kind of put as your simplified playbook lah. Otherwise, too many things also. You also don't know where to start. Okay lah, can segment, but then, too much to deal with. So number 1, look for your champions and loyal customers. If you've got a new product to introduce, go attack them first. Doesn't cost you extra single cent, right? Number 2, for your champions and loyal customers, it is okay to give larger discount promotions. Why? Because you know the ROI that you get from them is going to be a lot higher, right? So don't be too kiasu or kanchong with these guys. Give larger discounts to this group. And like I said earlier on, number 3, use these profiles to actually create your lookalike on Facebook. Yeah. Now, the other one, look for your can't lose them segment, right? Go and provide discounts also that sits in between the discount that you would give to a champion or loyal and the rest of the mess out there, right? So extreme case lah, if you give the champions or loyal 50% discount, The rest of the world, you give 20% discount. Somewhere in between is what you kind of offer these guys, right? So that you try to pull them back in with regards to retaining with you. Remember, you got them already. It's okay to give them extra a little bit compared to what you're giving the rest, but not too much. Yeah. Last but not least, yeah, are the new guys that comes in. You got to take care of the new guys that comes in, right? Connect with them. The minute you got a new customer, make sure that their experience in making that first purchase is super awesome, right? And if they have not followed you on social media, get them to follow you on social media so that you can also subtly target them, communicate to them, and push things out so that your communications mix is not just about spamming them lah. You know, you also, as we all are consumers, we don't want people to spam us all the time also. Tak syok lah, right? So get them to follow you on social media if they haven't already done so. Get that relationship going with this group. So guys, these are the 5 things, right? Based on all that I said just now that I would like to recommend for business owners out there that's running an e-commerce storefront that have not looked at data being a tool, right? People talk about big data, you get scared. Right? I'm trying to simplify this for everyone. Now, in the process of simplifying this for everyone, how can you now get your customer segments now? Right? Like I said, if you've got storefronts ready, you know, you could be using platforms like Easy Store, for instance. They've got all the data captured over there. These are the 3 elements that I mentioned just now. They've got a whole bunch of other elements there too. All you need to do is just connect with us. We're then able to link the data from your platform to what we have and to be able to get something like this, right? So yes, I explained to you with regards to the charts and so forth, the kind of calculations and modeling that you need to do. I just shared that to you to appreciate, right, the whole concept and how it is calculated. Because once you appreciate it, then you are able to also appreciate how the application of that is going to be, right? But we've made it so simple, right? At the bottom left, that's where it's coming from your storefront, right? Open the door for us to be able to connect, and then we'll start giving you reports like this that allows you to understand continuously, right? Continuously, as long as you're running your business, are there shifts or not in the customers that you're in? Are your champions reducing? Are your champions increasing? Or are your lost customer segment increasing? What are the rate alerts that you should be looking out for in running the business itself? And then contextualize that with the sales that is actually deriving on the business front. So guys, you know, I do hope that I've given some clarity and given you some level of comfort also, yeah, more importantly, with regards to taking that first data step. And as my other colleagues have mentioned, you know, if you think this is something that you're interested in, you know, connect with us. We're actually running a program to give you 50% off on your subscriptions. And we can guide you along the way in terms of making sure that you can understand deeper what I've just shared earlier on. And again, most importantly, on your journey to optimizing your cost structure and naturally optimizing your top line and customer value at the end of the day. Thank you very much again, everyone. And if you want to connect with me, you know, I put my email up here. And for those of you guys that's roaming around the virtual eBiz Summit, you know, do drop by our booth. It's booth 399 under Dattel Asia. It's under the category of technology, software, and applications. So I look forward to hear from you guys, and back to the moderator. Thank you.
So, thank you, Mr. Ashran, for the very wonderful sharing just now. I also got excited with.
I'm glad. My pleasure.
And
I hope everyone else is too, and not just you, Michael.
yeah, I hope everyone too, because the sharing was very interesting. It was knowledgeable as well as fun. I got excited with your presentation. All right, so we'll just proceed to the question from Andrew. I think this one regarding the RFM metric. In order for me to obtain this information, do I have to embed this into my e-commerce site or marketplace site? But I think you just explained it as well, but you can repeat.
Yeah, so I can enhance that explanation a little bit more, right? There are many e-commerce enablers out there, right? So some of you guys are using Easy Store, some of you guys are using WooCommerce, Shopify, and so forth. Now, all we need to do is, as long as you got a store, you come and connect with us. We will tell you what we need to do in order to connect to your e-commerce platform. And then you're set to go.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. Right? My goal is try to make you business owners out there who's running e-commerce platforms, get insightful information super easy. Because if it's not super easy, you guys are not going to be able to get on this journey.
Yeah, true. I totally agree with you, because for the past few days, since last week, we have been talking about data, how to utilize it. And today we got a very useful tool. From the morning, we have been sharing about the importance of it. And now Mr. Ashran himself will attract you to provide you the best way for you to utilize this through his platform. So everyone, don't miss out this chance to connect with him and to connect with the Dattel Asia group, because I believe this will be very beneficial for everyone, especially to small business owner and e-commerce provider. So I have nothing else to say.
So let me add on a little bit. We still got time, right, Michael?
We got time.
So tell me if we don't have time, yeah? Because just triggering a little bit from where Andrew was asking just now. One of the reasons that I wanted to actually, take this slot myself and not pass this to the rest of my other team members, although they are all well capable, as you've seen in the first two sessions, is that this closely resonates with me, especially looking at the e-commerce market right now and a lot of business getting online. Right. Mm-hmm. And I actually, in the summit talk that we had last week, did share about the future state that we imagine. Right? The future state that we imagine, where we were talking about networked branded stores. Right? There was a big conceptual thing that was shared with everyone, and I highlighted to everyone that the starting point of that is today. The starting point is, to be data aware. Again, right? And I think in the previous session, Andrew also asked, whether can a non-tech person use this or not.
That's correct.
And when I tried to frame with the rest of the team, number one, if you're a non-tech and you can't use tech tools at all, then, a different story lah, that one. Right? But if how we've tried to design the platform is to have in mind that you do not have to be a data scientist, right? And I think Ayn highlighted earlier on that as a business owner, right, whether you're conscious or not, right, you are actually making decisions based on data. It's just maybe not presented you in the manner that we've presented. Right? Memang tipu lah if you say that you make decisions without any data at all. You would have used. It's just the level of data and the kinds of data that you are actually processing, right? And what I showed to everyone, and just like we saw in my slides, I just highlighted today in this session, level 1 segmentation. And you can potentially look already at the delta, at the impact that it can have on your business, right? Mm-hmm. And if we are able to actually for all you e-commerce business owner out there, if you start your journey here, right, it is almost a self-tutorial in you getting more familiar with regards to data, right? And the minute you are at the familiarization stage, right, I bet you my last dollar that as the e-commerce business owner or merchant, you are going to come back to us and say, hey, Ashran, got some more data or not? Hey, what other data I can capture? Hey, how can I take this one also? And that's where we want entrepreneurs to be moving forward in trying to get that journey itself, right? Data is actually at a state where, e-commerce was probably many, many years ago. Data was at a state also probably where websites were starting before, right? But just as we all have seen, the rapid pace of acceleration of things, right? You cannot afford to lose out in starting your data journey today. Because if you do, the guys that have started first would have captured more data than you, and you will be at a disadvantage. Bottom line, that's it.
Yep.
Right. So guys, if you are any bit concerned with regards to data, come and talk to us. Come to our booth. I've attempted to kind of, like I said, paint a very simplified visual on how data can actually impact you. Take that first step, right? Take that first step in your data journey. And then, as I like to point it, be celik data lah, right? You have to be expert in data, but you should be celik data, right? And if you are celik data, then, inshallah, God willing, you will definitely be ahead with everyone out there, especially in a very noisy digital space right now, right? Everyone's going digital. You need to have that edge. Otherwise, you can have online presence lah, but cannot survive also.
I've heard this saying, something like data is the future, but no, data is now.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
So everyone who just started, you need to be celik data. Need to be aware with your how to optimize data.
Data after this, bro.
Okay. All right. I see that is all the time we have.
All right.
So I'll see everyone in the next session. The next session will be Network Live at Network Live Chit-Chan at 3 p.m. So thank you, Ashran, for the wonderful sharing just now.
Thanks, Aiko.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. So see you later. Bye-bye.
Good luck, everyone.